The weight loss industry, also known as the weight management market, was worth about $143 billion a year. That is how much they overcharged the overweight. But now it's all changed. Obesity. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. Each week on my podcast, a different topic, discussion, or story from our lives.
Season 12, Chapter 8.
The Skinny on Fat.
Skinny and fat are both words we're not even supposed to be using anymore, especially fat. And I don't mean fat, P-H-A-T, which was slang for excellent. Hardly anyone uses fat anymore to mean excellent. It was popular around the same time that bad meant good. Well, man, that's not only bad, it's fat. Hey, thank you. Always wanted to be bad fat. No, fat, F-A-T, we don't really use it. I get it. It became an insulting word, its own F-bomb. Calling someone fat was not a descriptor, but a put-down. We tried to use other terms. After all, words matter. Plump, plus size, ample, large, Rubenesque, portly, stout. And the two we settled on that we can use in mixed company, overweight and obese. Overweight, well, that's most of us in the Western world, and obese are the overweight. And what was it all based on? Charts, years of insurance data that averaged how much a man or woman of a certain height should weigh. We have this other term for the excessively overweight, morbidly obese. Believe it or not, that's still an acceptable term, but should it be? Morbid means dark and unpleasant. We don't say potentially fatally obese. We say morbidly, like we're saying, at your size, we find you unpleasant. People can be overweight and, frankly, underweight due to physical or glandular issues. That's true, but generally, being overweight has its roots in mental health issues. I'll get to my theory on that in a few moments. It hasn't helped that for the last 75 years of modern media, fat was unacceptable. The beautiful people were not fat. And if a fat person was portrayed as part of the group, it was for laughs. The fat person was there for comedy relief.
Have you ever seen the guy who's got the record for fattest man in the world? 1,400 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, the man has let himself go.
Yeah, really, what else could those morbidly unattractive people provide? Has it changed with all this talk of, body shaming and sensitivity and tolerance? In my opinion, only a little. Plus-size people in media are there more and more, but the tokenism of it still exists. What's the proof of that? The weight loss industry. It became a $143 billion business. It couldn't have done that without fat being portrayed as negative. You have to convince people they need to lose weight. Yeah, in many cases, I do believe there are genuine health concerns. But the best sell for weight loss products is the promise of beauty and social acceptance. Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Nutrisystem, Atkins Diet, the Caveman Diet, the Renaissance Diet 2.0, the Keto Diet, Eat Smarter, Life in the Fasting Lane, Diet Coke, Miller Lite, Lean Cuisine, Skim Milk, and Splenda in your coffee. Eat meat, no bread. Hey, no meat, more veggies. Yeah, some veggies, but mostly cabbage. Remember the old joke? Recently I went on the grapefruit diet. In 1 week I lost over 20 grapefruits. Desperate people would go as far as having part of their stomach stapled or fat pumped out of their bodies. Remember the first rule of fat pumps: you never talk about fat pumps. Oprah Winfrey owes at least half of her career to being a plus-size person who openly talked about struggling with her weight. Why was she struggling? Well, because like most of us, we're told it's a certain body type that we should all achieve.
I'll never forget a day in 1990. I saw myself on the cover of TV Guide's Best and Worst Dress list. And I remember thinking at first, oh, look, there I am on the cover. And then I read the headline that Mr. Blackwell, the tastemaker of the time, called me bumpy, lumpy, and downright dumpy.
Still today, if someone is overweight, we don't shame them over it. We accept them for what they are. But if they lose 20, 30, 40 pounds, how quick are we to say, wow, you look great. What did you do, lose some weight? So really not much has changed, has it? Oprah even bought in, literally, we're talking business dollars, to Weight Watchers. And really, outside of those, crazy diet books, most of the weight loss schemes were about portion control. And one of the other things they sold us on is, don't look good a year from now. You can look good a month from now. See results quickly. Okay, yeah, it took me 2 years to get this big, but I would like to go down 3 sizes by month's end. I get it. None of us should really need to spend money to watch what we eat less per sitting, and walk around the block occasionally. But, some people need help. They need to be put on a system. They need to follow a discipline. And if that discipline is Jenny Craig, fine, pay her for it if it helps you. But Oprah sold off her Weight Watchers stock recently, donated all the money to charity, by the way. Jenny Craig has tanked. Nutrisystem is struggling. Most of those plans have been displaced by Ozempic. The weight management market has changed, kicked over onto its fat ass by Big Pharma. Big Pharma has finally succeeded in providing what every big bulge battler always wanted: a pill. Eat right, exercise, portion control, diet books, light beer, and pre-packaged meals delivered to my home. Screw that. Why can't I just take a pill? Well, now you can. And that's changed the entire industry. Ozempic is just one brand name. There are many drugs created to help people to manage their type 2 diabetes. But as advertised, many people on this drug also reported losing weight.
Ozempic Trizone, I lowered my A1C, CV risk, and lost some weight.
The manufacturer said this was like a side benefit of the diabetes drug, but in my opinion, I think they knew all along they had a magic pill for weight loss. And suddenly, as they had planned, in my opinion, they couldn't keep Ozempic on the shelves. People who needed Ozempic for their diabetes couldn't get it because other people were buying it up just to lose weight. And I say magic pill. Ozempic is usually in injection form. Rybelsus is a pill. And there are a few others, all in the category of semaglutides, specifically glucagon-like peptides. Oh yeah, your GLPs. Ooh, thank you, Dr. Science. Listen, I really don't know what all that means, but the layman's explanation is these things, when ingested, tell your body you're full. And a bit later on in the day, tell your body that you're still not hungry yet. Helps reduce the cravings, the overeating, etc. That's what the people heard, that you could lose up to 14 pounds. They did not hear could cause pancreatitis, gallbladder issues, vision problems, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and kidney malfunctions. And even if they did hear it, most people were willing to roll the dice on that to drop a stone. Stone, by the way, an old weight measure, equal to about 14 pounds. Dieting, exercise, what a pain. Magic pill, what a godsend. How did we get here? How did the developed, civilized, so-called Western world get to this point where obesity was an epidemic? How did we get locked into this unhealthy relationship with food? Why do we sit down to a meal and say, I am starving to death, when all we are is hungry? Especially when there are people in the world who are starving to death, dying from famine, a lack of food. We've even come up with a nicer term for it to make us feel better. It's called food insecurity. Sounds so much better than starving to death. I'm sure you've seen the news coverage of famine and death by starvation. And on that coverage, we break for commercials for the latest footlong from Subway. KFC has onion rings now. Golden Corral, all-you-can-eat buffet. Can you at least move those commercials away from the famine coverage? And can we at least have the decency to say, I'm famished, not starving. You're not starving. You're famished at worst. Those people in South Sudan, not famished, starving. And I realize that even in this horn of plenty known as North America, there are people who go to bed and wake up hungry. But this all speaks to the greater question. How can so many have so little and others have so much? In America, we want at least 3 meals a day. That's the number we've settled on, we think is for basic survival. 3 meals a day, every day. But we have things called appetizers. That is food we have before our meal. Soup, salad, more food to have before a meal. We have sides. That's what we call the food we have with our meal. And then, of course, there's dessert. Food we have after our meal. And if all that is not enough, between meals we have food we call snacks. We have at least 24 different ways of having food delivered right to our door. We're probably this close to hiring people to shovel it into our face for us. Food comes in cans and boxes, pre-cut, processed, frozen, just zap and eat. Processed food, let's make it as easy as possible for us to get food. Just for fun, we have food eating competitions. Let's see who can eat the most food in the shortest amount of time. Hot dogs, pizza, chicken wings, poutine, whatever. We cover it as a sport. We hand out trophies and cash prizes. With these competitions, we openly mock the poor and the starving. We make eating too much a valued skill. This is the Western world. That's why you never see a fat communist. Oh, I know what you're saying. What about Brezhnev and Gorbachev or even Mao? Yeah, but those guys were up in the top at the Politburo. They had their 3 squares per day, plus unlimited hot and cold running sandwiches. But the average communist? I tell you, he was never in a hot dog eating contest. You know when they parachute food drops into Gaza, and people drown swimming out into the sea to try and recover the packages? Why doesn't ESPN cover that as a sport? This completely toxic relationship with food is a problem of the civilized world. Here's my theory I referenced earlier. Could the fault of the obesity epidemic lie with liberal democracy? Listen, I'm a liberal Democrat, an advocate for liberal democracy. But hear me out. The basic principle of liberal democracy is that everyone equally has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The words of Thomas Jefferson. Well, he borrowed some of them, but, the thought is there. There is a school of thought out there. The democratic liberalism, decades of it in the Western world, has left a hole in the heart of those who believe in it. That's one of the reasons it's facing a worldwide backlash right now and a rise in conservatism. The theory says that as we struggle through life and liberty, no one really taught us how to pursue happiness. What is it? How do I get there? How will I know when I get it? Furthermore, as we pursue this elusive bluebird, those of us who can't quite catch it hear other people saying, just do this, believe in me. We will make it great again. And it seems like that's the answer. Why am I struggling to figure out and pursue happiness when their God or their president or their leader say they will just deliver it to me? Yeah, remember when the world was happy? No. Well, trust me, it was, and we'll make it happy again. Liberal democracies have never properly addressed this issue facing their followers. So I'm asking, in the pursuit of happiness, when we couldn't figure out where it was, did we just turn to food? We conflated happiness with the feeling we get having a full stomach? Then a bit later, when our blood sugar goes down, we just pack in more food to get happy again? I'm serious about this. I mean, nowadays we talk more and more about mental health issues, and that's good. But if liberal democracies don't address the idea of how to pursue happiness, will we just keep ordering the extra large with double cheese? I wonder. Obesity is the epidemic, but for many of the same bad relationship reasons, there are people who on purpose don't eat enough. Anorexia, bulimia, rumination disorder, avoidant restrictive food intake, binging, purging. Eating disorders are a full separate category of mental illness. So much of our upbringing is centered around food. Well-intentioned caregivers who make sure that we're eating properly. You are not leaving the table until you finish those vegetables, mister. I worked hard to get this food for the family, and you're going to eat it. You know, there are children in China who are starving. China was the country of choice when it came to belittling children when I was a kid. So often, the only family time people can find these days is during a meal. So more emphasis is placed on the meal. Celebrations and observances often involve a special meal. If it's a birthday or an anniversary, we also must have cake. When we learn to cook, we also learn presentation. It can't just be good food to eat. It also must look irresistible, be a work of art. Celebrity chefs become idols and superstars. Colonel Sanders and Ronald McDonald are icons. We're supposed to reno our kitchens and buy nonstick cookware, countertop air fryers, pizza ovens, blenders, toaster ovens, and slow cookers. Hey, I'm not saying we should all live with one pot full of beans and rice, but we've built food and its preparation up to this impossible status, this pinnacle to achieve. It's no wonder we have issues. And of course, if you're really privileged and you have that fantastic kitchen I've just described, it's incumbent upon you to build almost the same one again on your patio so that you can barbecue and cook and eat outdoors without having to walk the 20 feet back and forth to that indoor kitchen. Speaking of kitchens, I've mentioned this guy before on my podcast, Jose Andres. He's a very successful chef in Spain who years ago was watching TV with his family. The news was on, and there were people going through disasters because of war and weather. And he thought, who feeds these people? He's founded a non-profit, World Central Kitchen. It's become huge. They go into areas of flood and hurricanes and war. And the first thing they do is hand out sandwiches and fruit and water. And then they begin to cook. They've been everywhere from Florida to Ukraine to the Gaza Strip and more. They feed people who are starving, not those of us just feeling a little peckish. Yeah, I could eat something. For the rest of us who enjoy multiple meals with multiple meal choices, it's a tough relationship. And you know another way that we're up against it? I mentioned that the weight management industry is worth about $143 billion a year. You know what the annual restaurant revenue is? About $900 billion. You know what the grocery business is worth annually? About another $900 billion. That's $1.8 trillion getting us to eat food, buy more food. What's $143 billion up against that? It's peanuts. Peanuts. Some peanuts would go good right now, wouldn't they? No wonder we love the Ozempic idea. We can ignore the work it takes to have a healthy relationship with food and instead just take a pill. I'm not really sure how I feel about this weight loss trend. I guess if we're all walking around 14 to 20 pounds lighter, that's a good thing. Except we're probably not walking around 14 to 20 pounds lighter. We're likely driving around. I am glad that all these crazy diet books and ridiculous weight management plans will be ripping off fewer people now. But on the other hand, I am being ripped off by Big Pharma now, ingesting those glucagon-like peptides until I'm a blind, vomiting mess by the side of the road. And people walking by going, "Hey, Larry, have you lost some weight?"
Side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
I will tell you this. Writing and producing a podcast of this length, it really takes it out of you. I am starving.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.